Joe, we'd like to thank you for coming out tonight and agreeing to be interviewed. And we might start by asking you, we know you're a native of Kilkee, and would you like to tell us a little bit about your family?
Tom, thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you to David as well. I will. Tom, my parents were Joe and Lena Coleman.
Right.
I was known as Joseph in the family there because two Joes would make it very confusing there. But
had to distinguish.
But it's just to distinguish between us. I was born on the 27th of April 1937 in the square in Kilkee, the house that you will see there later on in one of the photographs.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I thought I had something with me that I could show you, but my father was great man to keep a diary.
Right.
And on the 27th of April 1937, there's a diary for that, and I have it. But do you think I could find it before I came out? And I found 1935 and 1936, but I couldn't find 1937.
And your birth is recorded on it?
My birth is recorded on it. There was one of these small diaries, but for the 7th of March 1935, my father had, this is from my sister Patsy now, my father had a baby girl born today at 10:30 or whatever it was.
Right.
And a few days afterwards, the doctor's professional fees for maternity were paid. He had that noted also.
Okay. And
also noted was the date of baptism and who baptised me and who stood for me, you know. So right. he was meticulous like that.
Wasn't he? He kept a lot of detail then.
Yes. I was the youngest, Tom, of 6 in the family.
Right.
There was Mary, the eldest, Paddy, who incidentally had the same baptism I said, but different years.
Right.
Vincent, Pauline, Patsy, and I myself. And there's 3 of us left now at the moment. There's Pauline, who is in Muckle, and Patsy, who lives in Roscommon with her husband and family there. And here I am in Kilcormac with Carmel and Ronan and Michelle there, and they're living, Ronan in Tullamore and Michelle in Navan in County Meath there.
Right, so you have family all around now? I
have family all around. Yeah. Funny, incidentally, I have a nephew as well here in Muckle, Joe Coleman also, and it's amazing how, you know, how it came about, and he's an engineer with the council there. And I had a niece who worked in the council as well in planning quite a number of years ago there, you know, so right. She's down in Galway at the moment. But teaching seems to have been in the family, Tom. My grandfather was a teacher, although basically his profession was a civil engineer, but landlords at that time had great power, and he must have been well in with the landlord, because not only was he a civil engineer for the landlord, but he was a teacher for the landlord in Banshee National School there and outside Kilkee.
Right.
And he married Mary Flynn, who was also a teacher, and they taught in the same school there.
Right. So there's a pedigree of teachers.
Teachers, and funnily enough, I met some cousins of mine in 1970 in Kilkee. I knew they existed, but I had never met them, and they were living in Plymouth, in Devon there, and he was a principal teacher as well, and his wife wasn't a teacher, but he had a daughter and a son teachers, so it continued in the family. And
your son
we had never any great contact with our relations in England there, just the odd Christmas card and things like that, but there were teachers in other branches of the family as well. Yeah. You know,
so we know where it came from.
So it came from somewhere.
It came from somewhere. And Joe, your own dad was a publican and an auctioneer.
He was a publican and he was an auctioneer, and that's why when I retired, I took up the auctioneering for because he was Joe Coleman, auctioneer Kilkee, and I was Joe Coleman, auctioneer Kilcormac.
Lovely to follow your father's footsteps.
Yeah, and I was delighted because I used to go, as a young fella, I used to go with him. Business was different then, you know, and he used to do an awful lot of plots for Turbury, for Bog, and for allotments and things like that. And all these were measured in chains. And I have the chain outside of the house there that he used to use, and I used to go with him in measuring.
Right. So you actually had the chain that you put down.
The chain, 22 yards in a chain, 10 chains in a furlong, or 8 furlongs in a mile, you know. So
like we all learned in school. And the metric system now is to make it much simpler. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I think you were saying one time that the pub in Kilkee was a great calling place for people from the surrounding countryside. They used to come into your house.
They used, because my mother and father would be from north of Kilkee.
Right.
And every month you had a fair day and a market day for pigs.
Right.
And as we lived in the square, and part of the house was in Grattan Street, and then the front of the house was in the square, and the people from the north of this seemed to they'd come to that part of the square, and they always came into our house. And my mother, the Lord bless her, would always have tea and bread and butter and jam or whatever, something, because particularly in fair days they used to leave home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you know. And
right, so they needed
some
a bit
of them in empty stomachs, Tom, and not easy, like, you know, but that was the way the business went at the time there.
And I see a photo of your house, Joe, and looking at the door, it reminds me, you told a story once about your brother Paddy, was it? Playing a trick with your dad.
Yes, that's right. If you notice, there's a window directly over the front door there.
Yes, yeah.
Now the public house part of it was at the annex there. It's just see the lean-to.
Yeah.
Lean-to there, and it just go into one of the other rooms as well there. But the hall door in front there, that just had bar written over it there.
Yeah.
Because you could get entrance there from the market square directly into the bar there, you know, from without going into the private part of the house, except the hallway, like, you know, so.
Yeah.
And there were a few big incidents too. It was always often used for devilment. My brother Paddy, he was a bit of a trickster and delighted in putting tricks on anyone. But he'd have the knocker tied with a string up to the window overhead, and he'd knock at the door and my father would go out. Like, you wouldn't like to play tricks with my father, he could. But it was done anyhow. But it was done anyhow. But my father went out, he got fed up. The next thing he shouted out, "I'll get you Marky tomorrow," he says, you know. Marky being an innocent poor chap that lived 200 yards away from our house, right. But he was getting the full blame.
Marky was getting the blame.
Getting the blame for it anyhow, yes. Yeah.
So it became a catchphrase in your house.
It did. I'll get you, we'll get Marky.
Yeah. And Joe, I presume you worked in the bar as a young fellow, or helped out?
I did. I was filling pints and I was 8 and 9 and 10 there, you know, so
yeah.
And I was considered a good barman too, Tom, you know. But,
yeah. A man of many talents, Joe.
Yes, and then later on in the 50s there, my father's health was deteriorating and things weren't just right, and so I used to do bar work in other pubs in Kilkee during the summer when I'd been home on holidays there, you know.
Right.
And again, I got the name of being a good
barman.
But I often wondered why I had an inclination, and I wouldn't take charge of a bar now for any lover, but I'd drink it all right.
Yeah. But you prefer to be the other side of the counter.
I prefer to be the other side of the counter. But then again, I didn't drink at that time, you know. I didn't take a drink at all at that time, you know. So.
And Joe, I presume Kilkee was a lively spot, especially in the summer.
Oh God, it was, Tom, but you see, the trend was totally different then. You came for a week, stayed for a week. You came for a fortnight, stayed for a fortnight. You came for a month, stayed for a month.
Right. And people
let their houses fortnightly or monthly.
Right, yeah.
And those that came for a week, they stayed in boarding houses, you know, where they get fed bed and breakfast and evening meal and things like that, you know. So
there must have been a right bit of excitement around Kilkee for you as youngsters growing up.
For us as young children, God, it was brilliant, you know. And particularly at weekends there when Tom, when the buses from Limerick would come in there, you know, and you were sure of a good row or a good fight before they went home.
You were going to be entertained anyway.
Oh, you were going to be entertained. And there were wonderful singers, Tom, and wonderful musicians and wonderful singers. It's a very musical city, is Limerick.
It's Limerick, it is, of course, yeah. Yeah, I just see there's a photo there, Joe, at the bay in Kilkee, and it's...
Oh, yes, and that is a lovely photograph.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know whether you know Kilkee or not, but the Atlantic Hotel is there now, and the Ocean Cove is now called, but that was all green pasture there and green.
Yeah.
That's called Fisherman's Corner there.
Right.
You stand there, Tom, at any time, and you never get a breeze.
Really?
No.
But just whatever shelter,
whatever. Yeah.
Right.
You never get a breeze there, you know.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe, then moving on with you, say you went to school, you went to national school in Kilkee.
In Kilkee, yes, I did, to a Mr. Eddie Naughton.
Eddie Naughton,
yes.
Right. And from there then you headed off to Ballyvourney.
And from there I headed off to Ballyvourney. It was the 1st or 2nd of September 1951.
Right. And say from West Clare to Ballyvourney was quite a distance to head off to boarding school. So was it unusual for people to head from Clare to Ballyvourney?
Not so much now, because there was an exam at that time, Tom, called the preparatory exam.
Right.
And Eddie Naughton, Mr. Naughton, he specialised in getting people to do that exam.
Right.
And he made his name in that, you know, because the year I did it now, there was at least 3 or 4 from Kilkee. The year before I did it, there was at least 4 or 5 from Kilkee got it. And they got first place in Ireland, second place in that. I did it twice.
Right.
And I was lucky enough to get it the second time there. I got 39th place in Ireland or something like that, you know.
And this was a preparatory college?
It was a college to prepare
for teaching.
You had a 99% chance of being a teacher if you got there, like, and sort of.
But you didn't necessarily have to go to a preparatory college. It just improved your chances.
Oh God! Once you were, if you kept your head about your toilet, and you were going to be a teacher, like, you know.
Right. Yeah. So from
you had to pass your exams, you know. But,
but
you didn't have to get extraordinary marks or anything like that, you know.
Yeah. But I suppose what I was just thinking, from an early age then, from the age of 11 or 12,
yes,
you were already thinking along.
Oh, along those lines, yes.
Once you were going
Not
to
only was I thinking along, but my
parents
were teaching along those lines as well. Right. And the same with all the villagers, because there was nothing else in Kilkee during the winter, you know, there was nothing else in Kilkee, you know.
Right, yeah, so...
It was either that or some job in the civil service or the boat down, you know.
Right. And when you headed off to boarding school, Joe, you were away then, I presume. There was no coming home, only at holidays.
Only at holidays. I did ask to be relieved of my scholarly duties 3 weeks after getting there, because I didn't settle very well.
Okay.
And the next thing I got a letter from my father which told me in no uncertain terms where
you were staying there.
I was staying there.
That was it. Good. Did you enjoy your years down there?
Tom, I did. They were the LaSalle brothers.
Yeah.
And you know, apart from 1 or 2 now, they give out to you, but you know, you never got physical punishment there. There was 1 or 2. There was 1 president there now. So, well, someone had to do a job there when there was about 80 or 90 in the college at the time there, right. You know, so someone had to rule the roost, and if a punch had to be pulled or a leather had to be used, he'd use it. Yeah. He'd use it now. But we got a couple in England. They weren't what you'd expect them to be, because we had it a reasonably good time. We were well fed there, Tom, and also we used to be off on a Wednesday for a half day, but a half day Saturday and a full day Sunday. But you either went to Ballyvourney, or there's another place there called Ballymacera, and you played football or handball, but you played something or another anyhow. Right. No matter whether you're good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, physical sport. Yes, good for the mind, and good for the body, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And travelling then from Kilkee to Ballyvourney,
Oh God, yes. You left Kilkee at 8:30 in the morning for the bus.
Right.
The bus. You got to Limerick. You got on the train from Limerick to Cork.
Right.
And sometimes you had to change at Limerick Junction there and where the whole Limerick races now, I think.
Yeah.
And so you were in Cork really for lunchtime, and the bus didn't go to Ballyvourney until I would go to coach for Macroom, Ballyvourney, Killarney, you know.
Yeah.
So you got the bus there later on in the evening. It was almost 6:30 or 7 before you got to. So it was a long day's travelling, you know. But we used to go to the cinema there in
Cork while you were waiting.
While we were waiting there, you
right.
know.
Yeah.
So that was.
And you'd have a good crew of you together.
Oh yes, yes indeed. And I was smoking the first day with you, and I was smoking the last day after. So.
You brought the habit with you.
I brought the habit with me, and I paid for it still.
Yeah, sure. that happens. And your class then, I presume most of them went on then to teaching.
They did, but funnily enough now, one of the people in my class there now, yes it is.
Yes.
Do you see me there now?
No, I don't, Joe. No. Oh, bottom right, there you are. I do see you now.
That's me there. That chap there, second in the middle row there, second in.
Right.
That's Seamus Murphy, the great Kerry footballer.
Oh, right. Seamus.
Now, he went on to do agricultural science afterwards.
Right.
And he had a brother, Sean Murphy, that used to play for Kerry years ago. Wing back.
And Joe, I presume...
one of the reasons, Tom, maybe why I got the exam was Thursday afternoon. We were doing the regions of North America, and you were supposed to have them all off and know them all. And Joe didn't know them anyhow, so this Mr. Nockley could be very sarcastic, but I used to visit other pubs there and playing darts at night there, and he got wind of the word.
Right.
So he actually, I got a boot out the door anyhow.
Right.
And then literally and figuratively speaking and told not to come back without the owl at the following day, you know.
Right.
My father-in-law said we went back the following day, but I didn't go anyhow. I failed some excuse or another. But he came flying out after me anyhow about for the same thing, you know.
Right.
And he was the guard's son, so I didn't feel too bad.
You felt you had company.
But anyhow, I didn't play darts for a good while in the other pubs.
You had to keep the head down.
I had to keep the head down, and maybe he did me a great favour, you know. So
well, he put you on the road.
He put me on the road anyhow.
On the road. And Joe, you went on then to Dublin and St. Pat's for training.
From 55 to 57.
Yeah, and I'm sure you enjoyed your time there.
I enjoyed my time there, maybe a little bit too good in the sense that I got quite sick when I was there the first year, the end of the first year. Tom, the grub now, you couldn't compare it to Ballyvourney, you know.
Really, not as good at all.
Not as good at all, and you wouldn't have the same comfort zone either, you know, and I got pleurisy out of it, you know, so right. I spent some time in hospital there. I spent 8 weeks in hospital during the summer, you know, so. Yeah. But I got back to college after the summer there now, but I was well run down then, Tom, and again the grub
it took the body a while to recover. And Joe, when you went off then and qualified for teaching, would it have been your thoughts that you would end up back down in Clare, or had you?
No, Tom, no. I hadn't any. I had no thoughts, because what you were looking for, what most people wanted, when they finished, was to get a job for the summer.
Yeah, and get paid for it.
Because you had to, at that time, school stayed open till the first week or second week in July.
Yeah.
And if you got in you got paid for the summer holidays then afterwards, like, you know. So
right.
I got a school in North Longford in a place called Lega, Legga mine, North Longford there. Right.
And were jobs scarce that time, Joe?
No. An awful lot of people got jobs, like, you know, got jobs there, and it was sort of. I wouldn't have got it on maybe only for the dean there, you know. Not that he was a great friend of mine, but he was fair enough, like, you know. So
and he told you about the vacancy, was it? Or?
And he told me to apply for it, you know. So
off to Longford you headed.
Off to Longford I headed, and Ollie Money was with me there. But we set out from Kilkee on the 29th of June, 1957. It was the feast of St. Peter and Paul.
Man.
And we got off. We got to Longford. So.
And so they a very small place, I presume.
Oh, it's just a village, Crossroads.
Yeah.
A shop, a church, a school.
Yeah.
2 little shops. One of them was corrugated, and that's it. So I spent a year there.
Right.
Well, actually, as far as I'm aware, the parish priest had it earmarked for someone else for the following year, you know. So I got a short shift there, you know. So I didn't go back in September there, you know.
Oh, right.
No, I went back in September the first year.
Yeah.
But for the second year now, you know, I didn't go back there. So as well as that, I had to repeat some exam or another in biology or something like that. And,
right.
But anyhow, and then I got the job here in Father Shaw.
Right.
And
and again, I presume you had no particular connection. Just you saw a job.
Saw a job and applied for the job, and I closed a letter of reference from the parish priest who was a canon Grace in Kilkee there, and it was through that I'd say that I got the job, you know.
Right, and that was what, 1958, was it?
That was the 28th of October 1958.
Right. And what were your first impressions of Kilcormac, Joe?
Tom, I don't know. I remember coming in the bus over a humpback bridge anyhow.
Yeah.
And there was 2 women there. There were 2 women on the bus, and they were getting out as well. And they were doing. I know they were talking about me anyhow. You know, just
a new man in town.
A new man in town, and it transpired they were Elsie Sweeney and Francis Scully. They were after. That's who they were afterwards. You know.
Right.
So, but you know, where was I going to stay was the next thing. But anyhow, I got digs in which is now Costers, which was McMahon's then, you know.
Yeah, down Brahon Road.
Down the Brahon Road next door to you there. And I was there for was I there for a year? I'm not too sure now, but
yeah.
And then I got to Miss Fitz's, who was
right.
Where Joe McRedmond had the shop there next to Kelly's there now.
That's
you know.
Right,
and, and she ran a sort of a boarding house there, and
that was your home.
And that was my home. Home from home there, you know. So. And
Joe, Kilcormac must have seemed very quiet compared to Kilkee, did it? At that time, or?
During Kilcormac was busier than Kilkee during the winter.
Right.
But during the summer, Kilkee would have been busier than Kilcormac.
Right.
But you see, the work was here, and the people were here, and Portnamona was going strong, really strong, you know.
So.
And there was great business, and it was one thing I did notice about it was a great drinking town at that time, you know.
Yeah.
A great drinking town, and there was some mighty drinkers in it as well.
Mighty drinkers, and plenty of pubs as well.
Oh, now plenty of pubs as well, and they're all making a livelihood out of it, you know.
I mean, if you go along, I know you were very friendly, and you used to help out Jack Spade.
Oh, Jack Spade, yes.
And
yes.
Where, was Jack's down?
Jack's was where Gracelands
is now, yes. And you did a bit of helping out there.
Oh, I did because I was.
And you resumed your darts career as well.
I resumed my darts career as well. I did. Would you believe it? I played darts for awfully, would you believe it? Not to any great success, I can tell you.
So Joe, you played darts through darts for awfully.
Through darts for awfully, yes.
Okay.
Now the Jack Spain's always had a great dart team here, you know, and there were some great characters throwing darts, you know, but darts is very much associated as a drinking man's
game,
and it was very much frowned on that I was travelling here and there with a dart team and off drinking and whatnot there, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and you were a teacher.
I liked being the teacher and very example to the kids and that I should have formed the Boy Scouts or something like that, you know. So
Yeah.
but anyhow, that's
You ignored that advice.
I should have ignored that advice. There's nothing.
Yeah. And I suppose, Joe, there wasn't much of a choice for, we'll say, social activity or...
No, it's
indeed,
not.
you know, like in Kilcormac at that time.
At the time, there wasn't, Tom. You depended a lot, and you had no bus services like you have now.
Yeah.
When you had no cars like you have now. So you were depending on others to give you a lift there.
Yeah.
And
I
make no bones about. Joe Malloy was a great man to give. He had a car, a good, very good car. He was worked for the ESB, and he was a great man to give you a lift
around the country.
Into Tullamore on a Sunday night into the films there, you know. So,
yeah.
And
you needed that. Yeah.
And you needed that, you know, and you needed it. And then, you know, if there were dances or anything later on in carnivals and things, someone was always driving anyhow, you know, and you'd get a lift.
And I suppose, Joe, you mentioned there carnivals. Carnivals were a big thing back then, weren't they?
Oh, sure they were, yes. Yeah, there were some good carnivals in Kilcormac, but they never seemed to take off to the same extent as the likes of Verban now, you know, and other carnivals, you know.
And when they were
Palace used to be one
in Palace. And when they were held here, where were they?
They were up there in Kinnitty Road there, just just above Joe Malloy's in that field there, where circuses used to be at one time there, you know.
Okay.
And
Joe, getting back to the school then, you settled in well there and...
Oh yes, I settled in well there and there were 56 Tom rolls when I went there.
Right.
56. It reached 115 at one time there. And still the two of us were teaching, Carmen and I were the two teachers in it, you know.
So numbers doubled?
Oh, the double, actually doubled is right, that's right.
So when you talk about pupil-teacher ratio today, you had 150.
When you have an inspector coming in to tell you to mind your health and look after yourself, there's something wrong somewhere there, you know, and that's what one inspector did know. He was a gentleman. He came out from Tullamore there, and it was a Bowden was his name. I'm not too sure about
right.
But and he came to give me more work, to get me to do something for the department, you know, something to do with environmental studies, you know. So it was a big number at the time there, you know. So.
Yeah. So he was telling you to mind your health, but he was giving you more work.
But he didn't ask me to do it afterwards. You know. So he didn't.
And of course, you mentioned Carmen there. That's where you met.
That's where we met, and that's where Carmen and I met there.
Carmen was teaching there.
Carmen was teaching there. She had come up from the convent there, and was teaching there along with Michael Keary, the Lord mercy him.
Yeah.
And that's where I met. And she went to college then, and. She finished in 1964, and we got married in we got married in 1964.
Right.
And
so,
we'll be 50 years married.
I was going to say, your 50th anniversary coming up.
Next year there. God willing.
Right. And as they say, and never a crossword.
And if you believe that, you believe it.
You believe anything. Yeah. I'm sure, Joe, you came across some good characters in your years in the boys' school.
Oh, sure, some great characters. Some great characters. Some mighty characters.
Have you some? I'm sure you have many happy memories of it.
Oh God, yes, Tom, you have. It would be great if you could to get them down on paper, but I'm not that way inclined, you know. But it's a pity, really, you know, but there are some great memories there, you know, and the people I dealt with down through the years, the priests, and Father Shaw he was a real gentleman now, you know. He was a real man's man, but yet at the same time, He was very good. He was
very supportive and
oh God, very supportive.
and very involved, wasn't he? I remember he used to come into the school quite a bit. And
every Friday at 12 o'clock, religiously.
Yeah.
And he'd have his dog with him who would cause consternation because the dog would go for the rice sandwiches and the dog would beat him, and Father Shaw would be only laughing at him, like, you know.
Yeah. I remember one stage, Joe, you were very good at having a slide if there was icy weather.
Oh, you'll be doing your homework so, Tom.
No, just memory, Joe, memory.
Were you there when I was doing it, were you?
I do. I can recall we were very...
I just loved sliding, Tom, of all the things.
Yeah.
I just find it exhilarating now, you know.
Yeah.
Because we used to you wouldn't get as much frost in Kilkee as you would get in the Midlands. But when it did come, Lord, we'd be out sliding on the road there, and there was nothing else on the road. There was no cars or traffic or anything like that. And the farther you could go, the better, you know. And I just love sliding.
You were very handy at it, Joe.
I just love it now.
You used to make a big impression on the children as well.
I suppose so.
You see the master sliding down.
A few of them have mentioned to me down through the years now, Tom, all right.
I'd say that.
And out the back there, there's a great one.
That's right, down from the school, on down towards the river, down towards the field, or down the field. Yeah. And you mentioned there, Joe, about Saturday mornings as well. I recall for scholarships, you used to take people outside school as well.
I used to take, I used to take them. Took some of them in their homes. In some of the homes there, some in Misfits and some in the school, and
some up in Joe Mooney's.
Some in Joe Mooney's where we stayed at that time. And
again, Joe, it was a big commitment on your part.
And it was a big commitment on my part, but look at you do them, and what's more, it was successful, like, you know, and then people did well at them, like, you know. And even if they didn't get a scholarship, they had a good foundation then, you know, they had a good basic knowledge of things, you know.
And I suppose when you consider the numbers that were in the school and just two of you teaching.
Oh yes, indeed, yes.
You know, that extra help then made a huge difference, I think, to everybody.
Yeah. It was great, Tom, when people, apart from parents now, appreciated it, you know. I'll turn the tables a little bit now and say, do you remember when you used to go into the brothers in Tullamore for sports?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about it. Yeah. I do. I recall that. Yeah,
including yourself now and there. You know.
Yeah.
You had some good runners there.
Yeah.
And you always got the feeling. I always got the feeling personally that the brothers were on my side. You know, and that they appreciated the school. And appreciated the pupils who were coming in from the school.
Yeah, and the standards that you had given them before.
And the standards as well, like, you know.
Yeah, I think so, because I think, well, when we left and went into Tullamore, we weren't found wanting.
Yes.
You know, and but getting back to the running, when we were in school, you used to send teams into the sports in Tullamore.
Tullamore, yes, indeed,
and you had Jack Cox up as well.
Yes.
Remember Jack?
He was having won the marathon in his day.
The national marathon.
Yes, the national marathon in his day there. But you know, there was Michael Corb second.
Yeah.
He was like a gazelle.
Wasn't he? Very graceful.
Oh, the most graceful runner that you would see. If he had only concentrated, you know. But
he could have been a great athlete.
He could have been anything from a quarter miler to a half miler to a miler. Like, you know,
he had some speed.
He had some speed.
And an economy of running as well.
Precisely, yes, indeed,
And Joe, I suppose staying on sport for a minute, then I suppose you taught some very successful sports people.
Oh as well, yes, indeed. That's true. They passed through the school.
Yeah.
But I didn't teach them the rudiments of sport now.
Yeah. You provided an atmosphere where they could play away.
Some people would disagree with you too, Tom.
I don't think it did any harm. There was always football played up there.
There was always football and a bit of hurling played there.
Yeah. And a few All-Irelands come out of the school. And
I saw some great soccer goals scored up there as well. You know, God bless us and save us.